Hi guys, this is Anindita from YourFirstNature. Last week we talked a lot about watering. We covered two very important points such as how to identify your plant's general watering need and also what are the different factors that actually contribute to how frequently you should water your plant in your own house. There are so many factors that contribute to how often you should water your plants in your home that it may feel a little overwhelming. That's why in part 2 of watering, we are going to talk about how to identify when your plant needs water, the physical signs of it, how to understand just by looking at it or doing some simple tests how you can understand when your plant needs water, and also how to correctly water your plants. If you haven't watched our previous episode yet, please do check it out. These two episodes together will give you a very good understanding about how to water your plants correctly so that you can avoid overwatering and underwatering both. Before we start talking about it, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification button. That way you will be notified about all our videos every week. The best tool that you have to understand when your plant needs water is your finger. So just pick a pot and poke your finger inside the soil 2 to 3 inches down the soil. If you see some soil is sticking to my finger, I have watered this plant just day before yesterday, so the soil is still a little moist, actually pretty moist. So it doesn't need any water. This mud sticking to my finger, this is an indication that the soil is still wet and you don't need to water it right now. But make sure that you actually dip it 2 to 3 inches down the soil surface, because if the pot holds this much water, the soil surface will get dry very quickly because of the heat and the contact with the air and everything. But the inside soil will still be moist. So unless you actually get into the soil, you will not be able to understand what is the status of water inside the pot. This is called a dip finger test. The next thing that you can do is feel the weight. If you have had that plant for a very long time and if you are used to picking it up once in a while all the time, you will notice a lot of difference. You will see that when the soil dries out, the pot will feel much lighter than when it is properly watered. So if you have a limited number of plants, it is a good practice to try to understand how heavy it feels when it is properly watered and how heavy it feels when it is completely dry and it needs water. So if you compare that weight, you will be able to understand when it needs water. Another very important tool in a gardener's closet, in fact, two most important tools are these. I will put a link of the products that I use in the description below. But this is definitely a watering can that I'm going to get into later, and this is called a moisture meter. What it does is that if you poke this there are two pointy sticks, metallic sticks. If you poke this inside your soil all the way through, it will tell you how far down it is dry or wet. Actually, this meter is for three purposes. One is moisture, one is light, and pH. I actually use it only for moisture, and if you poke it down the soil, you will see that the meter here is changing. If it is completely wet, it will show moist or wet, or if it is completely dry, it will show that also. So that way you will be able to understand where exactly your soil is dry and where exactly it is wet inside the pot also. These plants only 2 to 4 inches. Poke it 2 to 4 inches inside the soil surface and see if there is any water. If there is no water, water it. There are also some physical indications that your plant needs water. I watered all my plants just 2 days back, so right now I don't have anything to show. I will still try to put some pictures on the screen so that you understand what I'm talking about. But things like leaves curling downwards or leaves drooping down, this is now totally perky, and if I hold the leaf, I will understand that it has some water, it is well watered properly. So this is not drooping down or this is not shriveling. So that means they don't need water right now. Some plants curl their leaves downwards actually to preserve the amount of water that they have in them right now. If they think that they are not going to get any water, the water reserve is actually running out and they're not going to get any water, they will curl the leaves downward like this, or this will curl downwards like this, so that the remaining water does not evaporate. This is a survival strategy. So that is a telltale sign of plant needing water as soon as possible. Similarly, shriveling, when your plant is actually has lost a lot of water, the thick leaves, the leaves like a snake plant, they will start to shrivel. They will start to get a little wrinkly. So that is also another sign that they need water. For succulents or the thick leaf plants like this snake plant, there is another thing called taco test. So what you can do is that you can try to bend the leaf like it is a taco shell, and if it bends very easily, that means it is completely dried out from water. And if it does not bend at all, if it doesn't budge, that means it has enough water, and that's why it is so stiff and perky and it doesn't need any water right now. So the last topic of the day, how to water your plants properly. I have seen a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of people who actually take a spray bottle and they just spray on the top of the soil. But that is not enough. That is not watering. And I think I have already explained why it is not enough by now, because the water has to go inside the soil. Take a watering can, if possible with a long spout, so that even in a shelf or in a cramped space, you can just go inside every pot and water properly. Also, with a long spout, you actually can get into every corner of the pot. I myself use a gardening hose because I have more than 500 plants, and a 2-liter watering can is not going to be sufficient for me, and it will be a huge task. So what I do is that I use a watering hose, and that does the job much more quickly. If you want me to explain all these different watering tools that makes your watering task much more easier in your garden, please let me know in the comment section. I will do a separate episode just for that. Now, when you are watering your plant, a lot of people, what they do is that they just water in one spot, a little bit of water, and it's done. No, it's not. If they're in a hurry, they will just dump all the water in one spot and they will just go away. But that's not the proper way of watering, because in a pot your plant doesn't have access to any other water except for the water that you are giving them, and the plant root is spread across everywhere in the pot, and every part of that root needs access to water so for healthy growth of the plant. So if you just put a little bit of water, the water will only go through to some depth, but it will not cover the entire pot. Also, when you just dump a lot of water in one spot, what happens is that a person like me who is a chronic underwaterer, I actually let it dry so much that the soil starts to shrink from the pot wall. So what happens is that the middle soil gets a little bit compacted, and when you just dump a lot of water in one spot, the water will just run off the side of the pot. It will not wet anything inside the soil. So your root will not have access to any soil. So the best way to water is that, I don't have any water here because I have already watered these 2 days back and they don't need any water for another 3 to 4 days minimum. So I'll just show you how to do it. Take a watering can, water all the way through everywhere in all sides until water comes out from the bottom. Then you wait and water again. Sometimes your soil medium actually needs a little bit time to get rehydrated. So once the water comes out, that is not it. You have to wait for a little bit, like 10 seconds or 20 seconds, then water them again so that the water again can run out, and it can, this time it can go through a little bit moist and little bit porous soil than before, not that much of compacted soil. Do not forget to dump the excess water, because as I said that none of these plants actually like to stay or like to sit in soggy soil. So even if your soil is really well draining and nice and porous, but this pot doesn't have any drainage hole, it's just for show, and if I don't dump the excess water from this, the plant will actually sit in water and it will rot. There are also other methods like bottom watering, in which you just take a bowl of water and you put your plant inside of that and wait for like half an hour, 1 hour, till the time capillary action actually takes all the water, all the required water up the soil, and the entire soil is moist. And that is a very healthy way of watering your plant, because the plant takes up only that much water as it will need if it is given enough time. But people like me who have too many plants, it may be extremely time consuming job. So I generally try to stay away from bottom watering completely unless it is an exceptional case. If you want me to explain bottom watering in more detail, I can do that in a separate episode also. So that concludes our 2-part series on watering. Hopefully this answers most of your questions about watering. Please let me know if I have missed anything important, or if you have any questions in the comment section down below. Also, like and share our videos. Please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification button to get gardening related topic every single week. We also post about edible garden, or how to lead a life closer to nature, or how to lead a more sustainable life. I will see you again next week with another Food in My Backyard episode. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.